Action! Action! Action, action, action. Hi everyone, how y'all doing? So my name is Sam and welcome to my channel, SamSamTheRising. And today I'm going to talk about a story I wrote for my higher English, which was about coming out and sort of being a young gay man about 17. To start, the title of the piece was called The Closet. I know, very original. In a wee closet I sat, clutching my gay grenade. I was terrified of the consequences when and if I threw this rainbow weapon of mass destruction. Whilst growing up, I was a very theatrical child. I loved my sister's Barbie more than my action man. I loved dressing up in my sister's gowns, especially the so damn good looking Better On Me dress that my sister adored, a white fairy dress which suited my skinnier frame better than hers. Then there was a boy in my sister's primary, just so gorgeous. Whilst we were at the same childminders, I would purposely wait to make my mind up for a sandwich so I could make the same choice as him. He reserved that right as secretly, without him knowing, I had made him my boyfriend. 1 year later, he moved to Blackpool and I'd been consigned to the life of a singleton. I remember crying for a day. I was hurt at him for leaving. I, however, did grow out of him by the next day. I could still have fun by myself, especially playing Crash Bandicoot. Sadly, there was no one to get caught in my rubber bands. You know, Crash Bandicoot. Adolescence began, and I could tell that I was considered the odd one in class. I lacked similarities to the other boys, i.e. football and the interesting girls. This caused me to feel lonesome. I had no desire to talk about either. It was then that I realised I was different from my other peers. As a result, I began to shy away from people and went willingly into my closet. The closet is where I spent my young teenage years. It was the only place where I could be tortured, and nobody knew. No one had to know the screaming at the back of my head, the continual lying and self-pity I had allowed to manifest. It was horrible, and I needed help. At that time in my life, I knew very little about the LGBT, Z, Q, I, and whatever other letters you wish to add, community. So I decided to educate myself for the use of the web. I was utterly astounded at the number of people who'd gone through what I was experiencing. I was not alone. Gandalf the Grey and even Dumbledore were gay. I could put my mind to rest about almost everything, although there was still the problem of coming out. But the reassurance that I was not alone allowed me to become more secure in my identity and knowing that one day that it would get better. Being in the closet for such a prolonged period of time had a knock-on effect. I lacked someone to trust. During the beginning of the second term in fourth year, I was asked to assist in stage managing the school's pantomime. Whilst coming early one day, I noticed that one of the actresses / performers was sitting there. It was Laura, a girl in the year above. She sat there looking at me, and she dropped her bomb. "Hey Kane, are you gay?" I stared at her and my heart beat faster. "No," I replied. "Why do you ask?" She gave a puzzled look. She, damn right, knew, but held back. "All right, I just thought you were. I would have no problem if you were." My heart rate returned to the normal human level. Over time, Laura became a very good friend of mine. I saw it as though she broke the lock on the door of my closet. After the Christmas holidays were over, I instantly messaged her about the life inside the closet. She said, "Kane, I honestly knew you were. Like, how could you hide it? I have gay friends that aren't as camp as you." I laughed and cried. There were always a lot of tears on my part, and we just talked. The next day we exchanged a hug. She also planted a kiss on my acne-filled face. The chains that kept me in the dark for so long were starting to lose their tight grip. Because of Laura, I was finally beginning to come to terms with being gay. For the next 6 months, Laura was the only one that knew anything. She kept my secrets, boys that I thought looked interesting, the troubles at home, and my mother continually asking if I was gay. Although I had home troubles, I was having trouble with my own body. I was 16.5 stone. To me, this was the breaking point. I could not live a life where I was constantly unhappy and living in fear of what was beyond my closet door. So, over the next year, I made myself a goal to lose that ridiculous weight and to come out. It was not until mid-October 2013 that I met my first LGBT person that was a family member, a third cousin in Canada. It did not matter what relation she was family. I began to message and question about herself and why she went to Canada. The fact that she was a lesbian obviously came up. Finally, after several messages to her, I told her my secret. She replied the next day with such love. She really understood what I'd been going through. After, she sent me a link to a YouTube video. The video was the most inspiring piece from a lady named Beckham. She talked about how the closet was in fact nothing but a hard conversation, and that everyone has a closet in some sense. Telling your love to someone for the first time, telling someone that you have cancer, or just telling someone that you're not at one with the social norm. For example, being gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. I watched that video 4 times, and boy were there many tears. This video allowed me to realise that you have to be brave and to rip the band-aid off, to be authentic and to expect real change when you open yourself up. So I told my cousin how wonderful and supportive she had been, as well as how helpful the video was. It was then that I decided to finally act in the name of courage. I walked downstairs and told my sister. Telling her was one of the most challenging things to do. It even tops the conversation with mother. I stared at her with tear-filled eyes and then told her that I was gay. She looked at me with such comfort and came over to hug me. Her hug was comfort, telling me that everything was going to be okay. Now, a year on, my life has never been so great. I am truly happy. Coming out of the closet was an experience that has shaped me for life. I can proudly say that during the process of coming out, I have lost 4 stone in weight and never felt I looked so good, even though there were minor bumps along my journey. There always are. I have never felt so confident and happy about myself. Coming out of my closet was a trek that only I could do. I was the one who had to take my armor off and be real. Living in a closet is no way to live life. The instant flutter whenever the word gay is uttered is never how a person should live. Take off your armor and be true to yourself. Life can only ever get better, unless of course you are the man wearing 24-karat gold heels. Then life is already fabulous. Girl, no word of a lie. I've been holding that laughter for about the second paragraph. I've been like, I've been trying not to laugh because I'm trying to be quite serious when I'm reading this, because it is actually quite a joyful read. Reading that, it's a bit dramatic. It's a bit. I would say the piece. It's funny to sort of look back and see where my brain was maybe 10 years ago and how I was sort of expressing and feeling about my emotions. So now, during this video, I'm going to go and break down sort of different parts of it and sort of my response to it now as a 28-year-old, so 10 years on from having written this piece. The first part that I really like is actually the inclusion of the little blonde boy in a pink dress, which I was blonde when I was younger, blue eyes obviously, and the pink dress. A little tutu dress that me and my sister had. So she had a pink one and I have a white one, and I still remember the picture in my head, and I thought it was so adorable. I actually love looking at that picture. But yeah, so I'm actually a student at the college who actually drew this for me, and I thought it was absolutely adorable. Starting here, when we see the closet, I sort of love that title. It's so cute. It's when you think 2013, OMG, I've got the title, baby. The original title, the title before this was, I'm not gay, I just like rainbows. I'd used that for my National 5 for a discursive piece, which was maybe talking about LGBT identities. But anyway, let's move on. So the first sort of paragraph is, in a wee closet I sat. I actually love that I included the word we, because it's sort of obviously I use that daily. I live in Scotland, and it's a thing that we use all the time. Clutching my gay grenade. I love that imagery. It's so camp. It's my gay grenade, girl. I was terrified of the consequences when and if I threw this rainbow weapon of mass destruction. That is absolutely iconic. I absolutely love how that line, that second sentence, when and if I threw this rainbow weapon of mass destruction. It actually relates to, so for me, I wrote Weapon of Mass Destruction was actually from playing Ratchet and Clank. I think one of the games has the title, like, Tools of Destruction. And I was like, that's a good way of connecting it to me, also in a different way. So, moving on to the next paragraph. Whilst growing up, I was a very theatrical child. It's actually funny reading that now. I would say I'm more theatrical now, but look back then, I think that was maybe more of a memory bias, I would say, because when I was younger, when I've spoken to people now as an adult, they said I was really quite quiet. That I was like, it would just be dependent who was around. I think maybe around my friends, I was quite a loud person, but maybe when I've spoken to people, they said I was so quiet and just like didn't have, I wouldn't say not confidence, but just maybe didn't have a voice that I developed yet. So I love that I said theatrical, but maybe theatrical could mean in like different ways. It could just be like, I was dramatic. Maybe I was I was a crybaby. Oh my god! Like I would get so upset at everything, but that's another thing. That's another video, guys. Part 64. I love my sister's Barbie more than my Action Man. Girl, not even word of a lie. I say that. I actually loved Action Man. I thought he was really hot. I loved his like 6-pack. The pure muscles he had. He was so masculine. I love dressing in my sister's gowns, especially the so damn good looking Better Than Me dress that my sister adored. A white fairy dress which suited my skinny frame and hers. Girl, not me fat shaming my sister. Oh my god, what an absolute sin. Like when I was reading that, I was like, you probably saw my response. I was like, oh my god, not me fat shaming my sister. When she was like a wee 5-year-old, like, oh my god. Then there was a boy in my sister's primary, just so gorgeous. It's funny that as a 17-year-old, I'm writing this obviously as an experience of my 6-year-old, as a 6-year-old, and having a crush on a boy like a year younger. Whilst with the same childminders. Oh my god, girl, if you find this video, he's gonna know he's gonna know it's him. Oh my god, I'm pure out myself about it all. Purposely wait to make up a sandwich so I can make the same choice as him. That's so cute. I do remember that. He would like have a cheese sandwich or be like a cheese and ham sandwich. Can I have that, please? You reserved that right. I secretly without him knowing I'd made him my boyfriend. Girl, when I read that, I wanted to crack out laughing, but I had to strain it in. Girl, you reserved that right. Secretly, not the unrequited love, girl. Without him knowing, no consent in this relationship. You just finding this out now. I made him my boyfriend at 6 years old. Girl, you are wild. No. And then the next paragraph where I'm like, 1 year later, he moved to Blackpool. Girl, he's fully if he ever sees this video, he's gonna fully know who it is. It's so funny. And I've been consigned to life with a singleton. Oh my god, that is actually so hilarious. Like, the life of a singleton. At age 6. Oh my god, but I do love the writing. It's very dramatic. It feels like, ugh, I'm so bad. My little gay heart doesn't get what it wants. It's very Bridget, I think. It's like, so dramatic. I remember crying for a day. Girl. I remember crying for a day. I was hurt at him for leaving. I think I would have known he was leaving beforehand. Like, I just feel like he would have told me. But I do think it is natural to feel those things when you're so young. You don't fully understand like the full grasp of everything, and sort of like you're just like, oh, you're just plodding through life. However, I did grow out of him by the next day. Obviously not if I can still remember 12 years later when I'm writing this. I can still have fun myself, especially playing Crash Bandicoot. Girl, I wrote this and I went, when I wrote this, I thought, oh my god, I am serving it. I am giving you it, right in that line. One of my other English teachers was like, I don't get this. I don't get this. Oh my god, it's so funny. Sadly, there was no one to get caught in my rubber bands. You know, Crash Bandicoot. I was serving. This is peak writing here, girls. Moving to the next part, and adolescence began, and I could tell I was considered the odd one in class. I don't know if it's just particularly for being gay, or a closet gay, or the fact that I wore socks and sandals to school as my normal attire. I don't know if that is the reason. It might be. I don't know. Might be the fact that Girl, I was so socially awkward then. I can just remember I was weird. And I can say that now. I can say that as a 28-year-old who accepts their weirdness. But at age 12, 14, whenever they're starting adolescence, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like going through a mixture of trauma in my own life. I like similarities to the boys, i.e. football and interesting girls. Do you know what? That is probably another contributing factor. Girl, football was crazy. Like, everybody loved football. I was like, no, not for me. And obviously the interesting girls, no. Sorry, you don't do it. Moving on to the next part. This caused me to feel lonesome. I had no desire to talk about either. Very true. It was then I realised I was different from my other peers. You just caught on, did you? As a result, I began to shy away from people and went well into my closet. Oh, it's actually a little bit sad. It's a bit like, oh, okay, Debbie Downer. But that's what the piece is doing. It's giving you highs, lows, in betweens, and wherever. It's called peaks and valleys, guys. The closet is where I spent my young teenage years. It was the only place where I could be tortured and nobody knew. Girl, we're saying this for 2026 lens. You weren't being tortured physically. Maybe very much mentally. You were struggling with being yourself. I get that. But I personally wouldn't write that today. I wouldn't say it was the only place where I could be tortured and nobody knew. I personally, now as an adult, wouldn't write that today because I don't feel like torture is not something you really can joke about. But for dramatic effect, it's really highlighting how I was feeling as a gay boy. No one had to know the scream at the back of my head, the continual lying and self-pity that I'd allowed to manifest. I am loving the sort of imagery I'm getting from this. It sounds very like dark, depressive. The continual lying and self-pity. That was very much a thing. I would have so many people come up to me like, you gay. I remember one boy I was friends with in third year saying, oh, everybody's saying you're gay. Are you gay? No, I'm not. And the self-pity, I think, seeing that part there, I do feel a lot of, I validate that experience now, like, yeah, I was feeling quite down on myself, that I felt like nobody was going to love me, I was going to have no relationships, I was going to be alone forever, it was horrible, I needed help. Yeah, for sure, I do agree with that. If, say for instance, if this young person who's writing this, so say this young person, Kane, me, younger self, was reading this as an adult and I was their parent, I'd be like, oh girl, we're getting you counselling. We're getting you to somewhere to feel a bit more validation, because these are things you shouldn't be feeling at ages 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. These sound quite like very depressive, a lot of anxiety going on. And to younger Sam, this is me reaching for the camera, and to the younger people who are watching this, it's okay to feel these things. I'm a bit emotional saying that. At that time in my life, I knew very little about the LGBT, ZQI, and whatever letters you wish to add community. Girl, I remember this was before it was LGBTQIA+. This was when it was just maybe LGBT+. I feel like at the time there was like adding different letters to sort of make yourself feel connected. I feel like the word Q for queer wasn't really used back in the day. And I'm saying back in the day, like we're talking the 1950s. I'm talking about maybe in 2014. I don't know if queer was a cool word. Maybe it wasn't back in. But maybe some claiming the word then. I think was definitely for intersex. I believe that was using. To be honest, I don't know what Z is. Sexual. I'm feeling zesty. I was ahead of the time. Feeling zesty. So that's been inclusive of the alleys and the straights who are a bit camp. So I decided to educate myself for the use of the web. The use of the web. Okay, girl. I was utterly astounded at the number of people who had gone through what I was experiencing and that I was not alone. Gandalf, the Grey, and even Dumbledore were gay. Again, guys, this was in 2013 when I loved Lord of the Rings. And at the time, the Hobbit trilogy was out. That was like being produced at the time. I wouldn't relate to Dumbledore much now. It's just a bit weird as a young gay connecting to like the older men who were like the actors that were gay. Because Gandalf the Grey wasn't gay. It was the actor Ian McKellen who was gay. And even Dumbledore, the character was gay. The two actors that played them in the movie weren't gay. So it's interesting looking back at that. Looking at 2014. Probably two shows that I was watching at the time that had gay characters were Ugly Betty with Justin and Kurt and Blaine in Glee. Like, those were like my icons. I like loved them at the time. Although there was still the problem of coming out, but the reassurance that I was not alone allowed me to become more secure in my identity and knowing that one day it would get better. So, looking back at that, we're looking at the reassurance that I was not alone. I think that was a very big experience when I was that age. I knew absolutely no one who was queer or gay, who was openly gay, my age group at that period of my life. It was very much isolating. It was very like, you sort of become a hero slash martyr, where you have to be your own hero. You have to come out for you and everybody else, and then you're sort of the one that's viscerally attacked in terms of discussions that people think are appropriate then. And I get it's other children talking about you or other young people talking about you, but it's very much, we were breaking the new frontier. That quote there, it would get better. Girl, there was so many videos that were like, at that period of time, it was like, it will get better. It will get better. And I remember, like, I think maybe, I don't know if Ellen had done one at the time. That's when she was still in the media. Being in the closet for such a prolonged period of time had a knock-on effect. Being a young, gay, queer man, you're put back so many years in terms of, I think, social development, because even at the one time you're trying to obviously build your knowledge base, trying to focus on your assessments, trying to focus on being a good pupil at this time, and you don't really get to experience things that wouldn't happen naturally for other teenagers at this time. So if you think about the straight young men and women who were around me at that time, they were all snogging away. They're all having sort of sexual experiences. They were all building like relationships that were a bit intimate. Was for me, all my friendships were very much platonic. I feel like even then, at that time when I was 17, I had not even kissed my first guy then. Like, that wasn't for another 2 years. So moving to the next part, it says, I lacked someone to trust. That was very true. You're like, how do you describe it? You're so isolated and you're in your head a lot about this. And especially being a teenager, you're so introspective all the time. You're so self-conscious. It's very much like the Barbie movie when she's like, wait, what's this thing I feel in? I feel conscious of myself. So here we write, during the beginning of the second term in fourth year, I was asked to assist in stage managing in school's pantomime. Whilst coming early one today, I decided that one of the actresses last performance was sitting there. It was Laura, our girl in the year above. I love him being dramatic. Like, oh, big bad Laura, she's the year above, she's so scary. She sat there, looking at me, then she dropped her bomb. I love how I'm using very, like, I would say almost graphic imagery, using like warfare. That's the sort of theme that I'm seeing throughout this, is using warfare as a way to sort of explain the introspection I'm having as a gay person. I'm feeling this is a war between myself and society. She goes, hey Kane, are you gay? I stared at her and my heart beat faster. That was very much the feeling that anytime somebody called you a poof boy, called you the F slur, called you a gay boy, or asked if you were gay, it was very much, they're going to find out my secret. No, I replied. Why do you ask? She gave a puzzled look. She damn right knew, but held back. Oh right, I just thought you were. I would have no problem if you were. That's sweet. That's sweet she said that. She was like, wasn't pressing, but she just thought, oh, if you were, that'd be cool. My heart rate returned to the normal human level. Over time, Laura became a very good friend of mine. I saw it as though she broke the lock on the door of my closet. I love that. She's like, I'm trapped myself in my closet. I'm like, I'm not coming out. Girl, I'm getting a lot of like repression emotions doing that. I'm like, but it's very much like you're repressed. She's getting the key. She's going, right, let's get this in here, and she's putting it in. And so that's the imagery I wanted to portray. After the Christmas holidays were over, I instantly messaged her about the life inside the closet. She said, Kane, I knew you were gay. Like, how could you hide it? I have gay friends that aren't as camp as you. Actually, to me, being camp's an absolute grand thing. To me, that's a compliment. I feel like campness is something that should be absolutely celebrated. It's not something that should be shied away. What I like to now say is, masculinity is a prison from which you will never escape. And that is what I stand by, even looking at that. It's like, People love my extraness that I bring to the world, and I love it. I bring a bit of lemon to the world. I laughed and cried. Girl, oh God, I remember crying about this all the time. There was always a lot of my tears on my part. I was a crybaby. And we just talked. The next day we exchanged a hug, so this would have been at school. She also planted a kiss on my acne-filled face. I'm also like, love how disgusting I'm being by saying, this straight girl who gave me a kiss on the face that had acne. But I also want to point out, this is the realism. This is somebody who, at this time in their life, is full of hormones, like going through puberty. Their body is completely changed at a rapid pace. I maybe went from 5'2" at the in first year to maybe where we're writing this in 6th year. I'm about 6'3". I grew in a foot in about 3 years. My body was like, whoa, girl, we are going through so much. The chains that kept me in the dark for so long was starting to lose their tight grip. I love that, like that imagery, like, release me, you know, by Angus. Because of Laura, I was finally beginning to come to terms with being gay. And that is the power. I would really like highlight to people. The power for queer people coming out is like having people who, God, I'm gonna get emotional. I'm actually gonna get emotional over that. Like actually having people there for you to speak about how you're feeling. And that can be in any situation. It doesn't have to be queer. It could be any situation. Having somebody you can speak to about something that's really, at this time in my life, was a major stress. But talking to somebody about major stresses in your life is so important. It's like a release. It's saying to you, I don't have to hold this weight anymore. I can share the weight. For the next 6 months, Laura was the only one that knew anything. She kept my secret, boys that I thought looked interesting, the troubles at home, and my mother continually asking if I was gay. So again, when we come back to the first part that I've already released, it was sort of a weird thing when she was surprised when I said I was gay, and she said, no, you're not. I'm like, I am. I know I am. As you may have noticed when sort of talking about this, I actually haven't spoken about my family. The only person I spoke about is my sister. And the reason why I really avoided it, because it was still an ongoing thing, I would say, when I was writing this. I couldn't really speak about how my mum was reacting, about how my other family members were reacting. The police could have been called on 2 of them for how they treated me because of being gay. Although I had home troubles, I love how we're downplaying that. I was having trouble with my own body. I also love that we're going like, yes, I'm a big girl. No, I'm like, I also love that this queerness and body image is coming in. That's another theme, girl. Obviously, body image within the queer community now, which I recognise as an adult, is a massive thing. Either being too big, too fat, being too thin, being not a right size, being too small, being too tall. It's like, I feel like even within, I would say, straight cisgender society, it isn't as criticised. But at this time, it was like, you have to be thin. You have to be skinty. Unless, obviously, you were trying to connect to a different sexual profile. So maybe if you were like a bear, or if you were maybe more of a, you enjoyed your body hair. But also, age 16, this is a lot of pressure to put onto somebody. Even here I'm writing, I was 16.5 stone. Girl, I'm heavier now. But reading that, I'm like, that's normal. Like, that's okay that your body looks like that. This is saying to other people, it's okay to have a heavier body. And I really shouldn't have been so critical of myself. Because I know, like, especially when I was younger, from about ages 16 to about 25, I was really quite critical of my body whenever it fluctuated up and down with my weight. So I wrote here, to me, this was the breaking point. I could not live a life where I was constantly unhappy and living in fear of what was beyond my closet door. Definitely, you can really see what I'm writing here is that I've got like this mind-body separation. My body's not how I want it to look. My mind is obviously under so much stress with being a normal teenager, on my hormones, and worried about being queer.
Next year, I made myself a goal to lose that ridiculous weight and to come out. It was not until mid-October 2013 that I met my first LGBT person was a family member. I had third cousin in Canada. She was family. I began to message and question about herself and why she went to Canada. The fact that she was a lesbian obviously came up. Finally, after several messages to her, I told her my secret. She replied the next day with such love, and she really understood what I was going through. After, she sent me a link to a YouTube video. The video was the most inspiring piece to live for a lady named Beckham. She talked about how the closet was in fact nothing but hard conversation, and that everyone has a closet in some sense.
It was a very big thing, voicing this here now, that this was sort of the beginning point of my coming out experience, that I was finally saying, okay, I'm queer, I'm gay, and I'm ready to suck your ear. I watched the video 4 times, and boy were there many tears. This video allowed me to realise that you have to be brave and to rip the band-aid off. to be authentic and to expect real change when you open yourself up. And that is really what I got. Real change can be both positive and negative. Real change could be the unexpected negative responses you get from people who are very much, they don't appreciate you being queer, they don't appreciate you being gay, they don't appreciate you being a person that's so different from what they have experienced of you, of what they expect of you. But also the real change could be you opening up yourself and finally letting go and saying, I'm here. So I told my cousin how wonderful and supportive she had been. And to Tracy, thank you very much for being there when you were. Told us how helpful the video was. Girl, it's going to be linked below. It's going to be there for anybody who wants to watch it. It was then that I decided to act in the name of courage. Girl, I love how like there's like pure like warfare themes going through here. Like acting in the name of courage. I walked downstairs and told my sister, maternal was one of the most challenging things to do. It even tops the conversation with my mother. Looking at that now, no, not the conversation, but even writing that. But I stared at her with tearful eyes, and then told her that I was gay. She looked at me with such love and came over to hug me. Her hug was comfort, telling me that everyone's going to be okay. I think an earlier draft probably had my mum's response in it, and I felt I wanted this to be an inspiring piece about hardship challenge and the sort of resolution to it all. So it makes sense why my mum's response wasn't included. Now, a year on, when life has never been so great, I'm truly happy. Coming out of the closet was an experience that has shaped me for life. And it continues to do so. I think I've come out the gay closet, I've come out as the non-binary closet, I've come out changing my name closet, I've come out as a cross-dresser closet, and that's a big closet. And I've also now become out of like the drag queen closet as well. I could proudly say that during the process of coming out, I've lost 4 stone in weight and never felt it looked so good. Even though there were minor bumps along my journey, there always are. I've never felt so confident and happy about myself. Coming out of my closet was a trek that only I could do. I absolutely love that the word trek was used. I feel like it is a very Scottish or maybe Celtic word. I was the one who had to take my arm off and be real. Living in a closet is no way to live life. Not all closets are the same colour, not all of them are the same vibe, not all of them are playing the same music. Some closets are a lot more manageable. Some closets, you don't have a choice about coming out. I wrote here, the instant flutter whenever the word gay is uttered is never how a person should live. Oh my god! Whenever somebody said gay, like I've said it before, it'd be like, oh, hyper alertness. It's like the panther in the jungle coming to get you, girl. It's like, ah! It was like an instant heart race from hearing that word. And then to finish it off here, take off your armour and be true to yourself. Okay, this really makes me think of fairy tale. So I've got like a tattoo of fairy tale here, and I connect to that because the main character I really love is Erza. She actually feels released and able to beat the opponent was actually stripping away her armour, stripping away her powers, and actually saying, my armour has never meant anything, and that it was only protecting me from realising who I am and being the whole person that I can be. Good God, getting emotional for that. Life can only ever get better, unless of course you are the man wearing 24 karat gold heels. I flippin' love that I put that. The story has to have a completion. It is a condensed story. It isn't a lot of words. You're about 1,000, I think it's maybe about 1,500 words. It is a very limited word count on what you can discuss. So obviously leaving it there, I thought, okay, this leaves it on a high. I've talked about my journey, my weight journey, my homosexuality journey at this time, and I'm saying, do you know what? It can only ever get better. And I'm saying here, unless you're obviously a man wearing 24 karat gold heels, because girl, if you've got that much money to be buying 24 karat gold heels, no, life is already fabulous. Well, thank you so much guys for listening. That was a very interesting read. I hope you all really enjoyed this video, and I'll be back with you for part 3. Wonder what I've got cooking, don't you? I know you are. Just remember to subscribe, like and comment, and I'll see you soon.